All right, welcome back. We're going to look in this lecture about how to write this cause and effect essay on Cormac McCarthy's Pulitzer Prize winning novel, The Road. And what we're essentially writing here is a cause and effect essay. We're going to use literature as a basis for it, and we're going to write a cause and effect essay. And what we're going to write about in this essay is how did the apocalypse occur before the beginning of Cormac McCarthy's novel, The Road. Right? He starts it. The apocalypse has already begun. And a lot of these exercises here are designed to help you assess just that. So let's look at some of these exercises in particular. Let's see, we got signal words. Okay. Graphic representations. So it's a good idea to start drawing out. There are three different strategies represented here of just different cause and effect. And what we're trying to get you to think about here is how do you think it happened? What kind of factors do you think added up to and resulted in an apocalypse such as we see in The Road? Now this is one called a fishbone strategy. As you can see, this is kind of like, if you would, the head of the fish, and then there are the bones and the scales, right? So what you see here is essentially the effect would be here, the apocalypse or global apocalypse. And what you would have here would be just the major factors would be on the outside here. These would be like additional related factors. And then in between, like on the individual like bones or scales, you'd be looking at sub factors, subcategories, anything related to that cause. And this is one I do want you to do. It's called the fishbone exercise. So it'd be really helpful for you to draw out a fishbone strategy of how you think the apocalypse occurred in The Road. That's on this page here, the description of that assignment. Talks about tips for cause and effect essays. Okay, so here we get into the part where we're really going to focus in on what I'm asking you to do in this essay. So we're focusing on The Road and cause and effect. So we have here is, that's a workable strategy. I put all the strategies here as far as cause and effect. I think actually the one I might recommend is this one here. This one on multiple causes, multiple effects. That's really the one I would have you use for this paper, which would be like this one here, except not with the effects. We're actually looking at the like cause 1, effect 1, cause 2, effect 2, cause 3, effect 3. So we're actually integrating the cause and effect. That's what I would have you do there. But it more or less would look like this. I would just have you like to integrate the effects into the body paragraphs. But that's going to mean that we're going to need a fourth cause. So a lot of these things depend on how many causes you end up finding, right? Because we want to avoid the 5-paragraph essay, which is simply 3 body paragraphs. So we have to, just keep that in mind in the background as you're organizing and strategizing this essay. Avoid the 5-paragraph essay. So if you have only 3 causes, you might need to organize it like this, actually. Although I would prefer them to be integrated. In the introduction, you have your hook, you have your background information on, you could do either one here. You could do like an introduction to dystopian literature, apocalyptic literature, or just some information on how an apocalypse might occur. Either one would be make a nice transition into The Road. Introduce The Road, give us a brief summary, work into your thesis. So the thesis for this essay, here's a template for it. It should look something like this. In The Road by Cormac McCarthy, the characters survive during an apocalypse. Although the cause is never revealed, the factors that lead up to this cataclysm seem to be, and then you would go ahead and add in your causes there. Here's a sample that I put together, kind of just building on that. Although the cause is never revealed, the factors that lead to the cataclysm seem to be global warming, drought, starvation, and a supervolcano. And these, of course, like we mentioned, are all the strategies for organizing cause and effect essays. Use any one that you want, just make sure that you avoid a 5-paragraph essay. As with all essays in the body paragraphs, we're going to use that Berger model. We're going to focus on a double-double model in this essay, where the first piece of evidence is from an outside scientific source. The second piece of evidence is from the road. Excuse me. Let's pause there 1 second so I can show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so this is a sample essay. Let's see, we have an introduction, an apocalypse, what might cause it. In the road, there's a brief summary there. In the road, there should be the thesis. McCarthy provides different scenarios. The factors that lead up to this catastrophe could have been. Okay, they give you some. Good. This sets it up nicely. You know, typically you want a slightly longer introduction. This is a bit brief. Other than that, they cover some good points. The thesis is pretty solid here. Okay, so our body paragraph would look like this. The first sign that may have been the cause of the apocalypse in the road is an effect on greenhouse gases. So there's some like syntax issues in that sentence, like phrasing issues, but content's pretty good. You know, we're talking about the cause, and that's the first sign. Okay, this sort of makes sense there. I guess I know why we're doing that first. So let's see, the evidence that they bring in here. According to NASA, the sun is the fundamental source of energy that drives our climate system. Okay, that makes sense. So I understand why we're going to cover this one first, because this is most essential, right? Without the sun, exactly, the Earth would fall apart. So that makes sense. So then what we're going to have here is a quote, like think that double-double from that other page there. But that first quote, that first part of the double-double, that's a quote like from a scientific source, like that NASA quote. And then the second one there, as you can see, is from Cormac McCarthy's The Road. And so the combined effect is that we're looking at, you know, here's evidence from this outside source that says this is how this cataclysmic, you know, event or this like global problem might develop or worsen. Then you talk about it, then you throw in evidence from the road and show how this evidence from the road is supported by your scientific evidence and how these are connected. Let's go back to that sample essay there and see if we... Let's see, so we have that. McCarthy describes how the sunlight is just a mere shadow. I would like to see a whole lot more analysis there. They set this up so nicely, but then the end of that paragraph is a little... It leaves a lot to be desired. You need about 3 to 4 sentences of analysis there and a concluding sentence that summarizes and transitions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. Here we go. Climate change is another factor. Oddly phrased, it's in passive voice. The author conveys it. Actually, not the novel, but that's okay. That's a minor issue, right? So what we're seeing a lot in this particular essay is there's a lot of analysis after the science and then not enough to connect it. So in general, this is really good. Like looking at this as an instructor, like the topic sentence is good, first half is good. Pretty much these first 2 body paragraphs are really solid up until this point. You know, up until the point that's basically step E right here, where we'd like to see more analysis connecting the two, connecting your scientific source to the road. Now, if we could just see that, this could be a much stronger sample. And then we have some ideas for the conclusion. comparing it to other apocalyptic dystopian stories, call to actions about how to avoid an apocalypse. And that's really it. That's how you write this cause and effect essay on the road. Thank you.